Now that we talked about what are grants, some pros and cons, let's talk about the nitty gritty details of how they work. Typically, there are two types of grants. There are your government grants by government agencies like the federal government, your state, your city, your mayor office, for example. These are all government grants. But then there are also private grants, which is what I actually specialize in. And I found a lot more ease when it comes to applying and winning for private grants. These private grants are typically from individuals like me and you, from corporations, from associations, nonprofits, and foundations. Grants in the private sector typically have less questions, they're less intensive, they ask for less details, still competitive though. But for me, I found a lot more ease in the private grant section. With that being said, now that we know that there are government grants and also private grants, we're going to further break them down by craft, identity, and also mission. Some grants are really geared towards a specific type of craft. So, as creators, they may be looking specifically to fund podcasters or journalists or authors or photographers. So, this is a craft focused opportunity. Some opportunities are focusing on your identity, who you are as a person, a BIPOC person of color, a Black person, a Latinx person, an Asian American, Pacific Islander. These are identity focused grants. There are sometimes that they're looking for either one or they may couple them together where they're looking for BIPOC podcasters or looking for women filmmakers. And then there are mission based. Mission based opportunities usually have a larger umbrella, more general and more broad. They typically are looking to fund communities, educational activities, maybe recovery initiatives like hurricanes or natural disasters, and maybe just R&D, research and development. So, in addition to the top layer of private or government, there's also these three as well that helps you further break down the opportunities. There are also a number of funding stages, meaning that your opportunities could live within one of these three buckets. Some opportunities are looking to fund a brilliant idea. They really just want to help you to bring your idea to life, and this funding can help you do that. This means that your project has potential to have a real and lasting impact. So they want to see this project get started. But there are also opportunities that are in the early stage route, meaning that you have a proof of concept out there, you have launched already, you've gotten some traction, and this funding will just help you to really secure your footing and help you further develop your project or program. Then there are grants that are in funding opportunities in the growth sector where it's like you're established, you have proven success. This is going to help to take your projects to the next level, whatever that is. So these grants and opportunities look very different. But overall, there are different funding stages. There are different types of funders. And for me, at least, this is very encouraging because anywhere within this spectrum, I can get funding. Actually, three of the grants that I won was to actually start a project, which was very exciting. And then I had another grant that was for the growth stage where I was already established, and it just helped me to do a little bit more, help me to take my game, improve my game. So it's really interesting to see how these grants operate and work, and that you can find funding at any of these stages, at any of these levels. I also want to bring your attention to these funding cycles. One of the big challenges that people face, and they come to me and say, Danielle, I love that you're sending out these grants in your newsletter, grants for creators. However, I'm specifically looking for this type of grant. And I always say, okay, number one is that grants are unpredictable, meaning that it's not always for certain that you're going to find exactly what you're looking for when you're looking for it, because grants have different funding cycles. Some grants are available one time and one time only. So if you missed it, I'm sorry, but you missed it. That's it. Some opportunities, though, are offered on an annual basis. So this allows you to apply year after year potentially. And then there's other varied frequencies like monthly or on a rolling basis, meaning there's no deadlines and they continuously put out the funds. But I've also seen some really interesting funding cycles, like when the funds are depleted, that's when there's no more funds, right? So until funds are depleted, meaning probably apply early so that you can be part of this pot of funds and pot of money. And also, there's a grant that I saw that had when there's a strong need in the world, meaning that if there's something compelling happening in the world, this grant opportunity opens and they're here to support their folks. So, a lot of times, not only is it about finding the grant opportunities, but also knowing that not every opportunity that you're looking for is out there right now. And having the patience and learning how to find grants is definitely an important skill that can help you to be on the lookout and be the first to know when opportunities come out. What's also important when it comes to grants is eligibility. You really want to make sure that you are eligible first and foremost for this opportunity before moving forward. And there are a couple of stipulations that they may have. For example, they may be looking to support different grantees within a specific start date. For example, like starting January 2022, for example. So if you started anytime before or after that, you may not be eligible for this. So making sure you're looking at the start date of your program, of your project, the years of operation. This is also very important. Sometimes they're looking for a particular type of corporate structure, like a nonprofit or an LLC. So that's very important. Most commonly, I've seen location being one of those eligibility requirements because a lot of times folks are looking to support folks in a particular county or a particular city or a particular state. Sometimes they're looking to fund folks within an income bracket. So maybe under a million or under $50,000. So before submitting your application and spending all this time, you definitely want to review the eligibility requirements and the FAQs to make sure that you are a good candidate for this opportunity and you do not waste any time. I also wanted to highlight the types of expenses that you can typically put on grants, from salary and software, storage, logo and art design, ads, conferences, consulting, legal fees. There are all different types of expenses you can add to a grant and spend money on the grant on. However, I do want to say that each grant is different. Some grants don't have any spending restrictions, so you can spend as needed and as you see fit. But sometimes there are spending restrictions that you should be aware of. So, for example, one of the grants I have won is that I could not include salary in that any of my expenses at all. And unfortunately, I couldn't have my salary, but I did actually want to hire someone to help me design some kind of art to promote my project. And I was able to make a formal written request from the grantor and they granted it. So just be aware that there are some spending restrictions. And if you win, you may have to ask for permission potentially to see if you can actually spend it on certain items. So just be aware that there are some stipulations. Now, overall, now that we know what a grant looks like, different types of grants, different stages of a grant, some eligibility requirements as well, when are you personally ready to apply for a grant? And everyone's answer will look different. Overall, I've seen that when you are ready to launch a project or initiative or an idea, you ready to bring it to life, this could be a perfect time to apply for a grant, that brilliant idea stage, right? Or if you have a specific need, sometimes we know that we want to do something in our program or in our business, but we don't have the funds to do that right now. So the grant can help fill a specific need to bring that idea to life or to help us improve upon what we've put out there into the world. I really like applying to grants for aspirational goals, meaning that if money wasn't an object, if I had a grant come in, it will help me to realize this big goal or this big dream that it may be difficult to get the funds right now to bring this idea to life. So your grant funds could definitely help you to tick off an aspirational goal or to grow or to expand. And then lastly, above all else, is having the time to apply. I've definitely suffered from FOMO, fear of missing out, where I felt like I was missing out on opportunities that present themselves and appear on my desk. And it's true. I am not going to be able to apply to all of them, but I'm very aware that they exist, which is number one. And then looking at if I'm a good fit. Do I feel like I align with the mission and vision of this grant funder? And I feel like I have a real shot of winning. I'm more likely to apply than just applying to every and anything. Okay. So that fit, that alignment, the very similar vision, mission, and vision and values is really, really important. But having the time to apply is also something to consider. As creatives, I know that we're very busy, we're time strapped, and it can be difficult to carve out time to apply. But when you have the time, you know you're ready to go ahead and submit the application. Now, with that being said, there are tons of frequently asked questions that I definitely wanted to address in this intro, this crash course to grants. Number one, are grants taxable? Yes, they are taxable. So if you do win a grant, you'll have to claim it as income on your tax returns. Secondly, how long does it take to hear back from funders? This really depends. It could range from a couple of weeks to a couple of months. So every grant is different. So just be mindful. And typically that's stipulated in the FAQ section, the frequently asked questions section. So you'll know when they're going to announce the winners and how they will announce the winners as well. Question number 3 is most common expenses you can't use with a grant. So I found that salaries and costs of freelancers are typically what you can't spend on. Also, advertisement costs sometimes are not allowed as well. But again, every grant is different. So it's really important to look at the FAQ section and see what they outline in the opportunity. Question number 4 is, are grants renewable? This also depends. Some grants are competitive renewal, meaning you have to submit like everyone else to see if you could win these funds again. And then some grants are maybe automatic renewal, or maybe there is a private application for you because you have already won the grant and it's a different type of cycle for you. So it's really depends. As with a lot of things with grants, it all depends. But as a general rule of thumb, most grants are not renewable. FAQ number 5, should I pay grant application fees? This also depends on you. It depends on your budget, and it depends on if you're willing to part way with funds to submit this application. Typically, I've seen a lot of author and writer opportunities that have an application fee. Typically, these fees help the organization just take care of all their administrative costs that comes with reviewing application and putting this funding source together. So there's a reason why they typically are soliciting a fee. And typically I've seen fees anywhere from $10 to $50. But again, it really depends on you and if it makes sense. Like spending $10 to win 1,000 may make a lot more sense than spending $10 to win $100 award. So again, it all depends. And I've personally applied for grants where I paid a fee. And sometimes I've just decided not to. So again, it just depends on your situation.